Okay, so we're at the point where we're going to use landing gear for our gimbal. So I'm going to show you the gimbal first, actually. Here's the gimbal. Just a standard. I got it for $74, including postage. But good luck buy gimbal. I had to reset it. Got it to be level after that. I also waterproofed the interior. I rubber coated the whole chipboard so that no water can get in there, and I have to do the contacts on the bottom, but I think that's really important. That's just asking for trouble. If you were just caught in the rain or something, even doing only filming on a perfect idyllic day, and you end up in a small cloud or something, or end up with some water on that chipboard, who knows if it's coated properly or well enough, or if it will corrode over time in moist atmospheres like the west coast of BC, where it's quite humid all the time. So I wanted to coat it anyways, and I don't think there's too much heat that won't be able to escape through that, so I think it's a safe bet to do that. We'll find out. It certainly will fail if it is bad to do that, and I'll let you know, of course. So there's the gimbal. I've installed on the bottom of the frame 2 screws, and I've put nuts on them at the base, and on the top inside I've put the rubber insulated washers that I will have on the site. So that mounts there. Now this is going to fit forward this way on the 40mm holes, like so. If I can find them. Everything's black, so it's quite difficult. There you go. And you'll have a standoff, so it will be about there. It does clear the front bolts, so you're okay with that. Now, next step is going to be getting this landing gear on. With that, obviously if you have your leg like this, you can't check your leg straightness anymore, because you know, that's going to be a problem if you've taken off this end and then you put on your landing gear leg. You're going to lose your squareness, you would think. So what you have to do is turn it upwards, move it down towards the end where you have the highest point. This is all tightened, you haven't loosened this at all. Now place it on your flat surface mirror or whatever, and make sure that it's completely flat still. You can check that, and if you have to adjust it, just loosen off this. You can sometimes loosen off just the nut, as it will grip enough, and then straighten out using the 2 bolt heads here, the screw heads, and that side, and straighten it, and then tighten it back down. So it's still a little bit off there. Just rotate it a tiny bit. And now I don't have any movement. The leg is clearing the area below. So if you want to set the leg square, move it now slowly until it just contacts your mirror, with your screw heads still touching the surface here and your block still square here. Now you want to tighten your landing gear there. So you take your Leatherman tool again, or pliers, or a wrench, or a small socket, hold the nut like so, and tighten down your landing gear now. Being careful not to move it, and you can double check it afterwards. So now that's quite stiff on there, so, and we are still square. Now we're square with the landing gear as well as those sides. Now what you want to do is either mark it with some removable marker or tip pencil, maybe graphite. Mark it right here at this line on either the top or the bottom, one or the other. You're going to loosen this now, and you're going to rotate that around to your line again. So now you're facing the right direction for the motors. And there you go. You can also double check this way, because you know your motor mount is square on the tops of the nuts here, or on tops of the screws, the Allen heads. You can now adjust this till it goes flat, and this will be off the surface, but it's still square because you've tightened this down when you did your first set before this step. So now your leg is square on the actual arm. So let's tighten that up now. And my screwdriver's a bit beat, so I'm not going to lie about that, but you want to make sure that you have a good screwdriver to get into these Phillips heads. They're stainless, so they're strong enough to take a little bit of abuse. Now that arm is set to go back into the frame. Take the frame, pull the clamp out to the maximum out position, forward, loosen off your nut on top. I've put nuts on the top of my frame so that I can get access to the center plate easier. It might not look as nice, but it's much easier to get this top plate off if you have nuts on top there. Then you can leave the screws in place on your flat surface. They won't be disturbed. Work on your insides, then put your top back on with your screws and these nuts. One of these nuts, hopefully by the time the third HB8 ships out, I'll have an adjustable knob for one of these sides here, so that'll be a test. It's just an extra, and there will be a few extras that I haven't mentioned in the kit that I'll be throwing in for you to have as a surprise, and something that applies directly to the frame. So let's put this arm in now, gently holding this clamp open, and don't force it. You don't want to do any damage to your arm, but there you go. Slid right in, very smooth. Lines up with the frame, square with the frame, leaving your quad on its side. You can now take your Allen key. Well, now I've lost my Allen key. Anyways. Bearcat. No. I think this is going to become, oh, wait, here we go. Always good to have a few Allen keys lying around. Okay, we're going to take this now and we're going to tighten this down. Four or five turns. And you can clamp these down very, very tight. So anybody who thinks that they're wiggling in their mounts has to really hold on to one first to see what it really is mounted like. These clamps are so rigid, it's unbelievable actually. They're built for much larger quadcopters. So there you go, that arm is now installed. And you can see how high this is going to be off the ground now. Let's grab the gimbal again. And when the plate is mounted with the camera, this is difficult. We will have my hand in the way. Anyways, I'm not sure how I'm going to show you this. Maybe this way. This is a good idea. Okay. And there you go. So I hope you can see that there's about 2 or 3 centimeters there of clearance. And even with my 9mm standoff, you've still got 1.5 centimeters of clearance to the ground, which is more than a lot of legs actually on smaller 450s and stuff provide. So I wanted to have a little bit of crash protection. So there you go. That's with the standoff. It'll be about there. And also you can add foam to the legs, stiff matte foam or whatever you want. Add as cushioning. Just strap them over and then zip tie around here. And that'll provide a little bit more height as well if you need it for a larger gimbal, as well as cushioning for impact. Now, the arms are rigid enough to take the impact, we'll do some tests, but I'm not going to drop it from 50 feet. We can't expect anything to survive too much from 50 feet at this size. So maybe if it was a bit lighter as a sport quad, you're going to have a lot better chances of survival at large impacts. Into grass and that kind of thing, fine, but into concrete, pretty much anything over a kilogram is going to incur quite a bit of damage. Now, if you don't damage the main body, a lot of the parts will be easily replaceable and quite affordable to replace, and that's the whole point. So you'll never be stuck with something that you can't fly, because I've built it so that you can adapt it to other things and also get parts for it at sources beyond my site. So that helps you out, and that gives you somewhere to experiment. So there you go, that's video 4, I guess. Well, it's video 3, but that was sort of 2 and 3 last time. This is the landing gear now, so I'll go through all of these and tighten them up the same process. And go through this step by step, as I said, showing you how to align these things, because they are built to be aligned easily and without special tools. But it will be good to have a good ruler so that you can check your measurements. And it's sort of a mechano of multi-rotors, and that was another reason I built it, is I wanted it to be a little bit of fun to create your own style. So this big motor is just exciting me. I just think it's going to be really fun to fly 12, 13-inch props and see how much extra time we can get on these quadcopters. So anyways, have a good night, guys. I am going to hit the sack. Tomorrow I have to do the instructions.